A book here about law. It's called Merriam's Dictionary of Law. So, the most important laws I've ever seen in my life, and these laws are the hugest part of American law and freedom. They mean so very much to what we're doing here currently in 2022. And I want to start with the most important laws that I think are very important with Amendment 4 here. The right of the people to be secure in their persons, houses, papers, and effects against unreasonable searches and seizures shall not be violated, and no warrant shall issue but upon probable cause supported by the oath or affirmation, and particularly describing the place to be searched and the persons or things to be seized. Well, there's a problem with that. The due process of law is inaccurate, and when it is, we have to get to the reason why the due process of law was wrong, and we can countersue the government. No one is immune from Amendment 4 in the government, okay? Otherwise, the government is just creating more and more property, which goes on to say that if there is a problem with the reason someone is seized or arrested, then you go over here and you say, well, here's number 5, Amendment number 5. No person shall be held to answer for capital or otherwise infamous crime, and that means an infamous crime is like rape or murder or arson or treason or something crazy. And then, that's the otherwise. No person shall be held to answer for a capital. So we don't have to pay anything unless a presentment or indictment of a grand jury is present, except in cases arising in the land or naval forces or in the militia, when in actual service in time of war or public danger, nor shall any person be subject for the same offense to be twice put in jeopardy of life or limb. So if it's the exact same moment you committed the crime, or they believe you did, you shall not be punished twice for it. Once you serve your time, it's over. You have majority of all the rights that everyone else does, unless it is issued that any of your rights are permanently revoked, which most likely they can't absolutely do that in all cases. So, there's also rights called unalienable human rights, and it pertains to this amendment right here. Nor shall be compelled in any criminal case to be a witness against himself. I don't have to testify against myself, ever. Nor be deprived, and this is the unalienable human rights right here, nor be deprived of life, liberty, or property without the due process of law. So they can't kill you if you're not a murderer. And if you're not being charged with a crime, they can't even hold you. And they're saying right now, currently, with my best friend girlfriend, they're holding her in a mental hospital, a state mental hospital, because she denied her meds. And the due process of law is wrong, because just because she denied her meds does not mean that she's mentally ill. And she may have been acting in an angerish way, or angry way, and she was upset about the fact that her medicine was poisoning her. So, nor shall private property be taken for public use without just compensation. So, with this here, it says not be deprived of life, liberty, or property. Liberty is the access of the freedoms of life and property. And property is any one possession that you own. And life is your body and your environment. So you can't take those things away without the due process of law. That means the court has to say that it's legal. So if the due process of law is lying about their probable causes, and they don't have evidence in court, which is made of a record of physical evidence to show that the due process is allowed to deprive someone of life, liberty, or property. In this case, Karen, there's no evidence for her. Karen Kidd doesn't have evidence against her to prove that she was mentally ill or that she needed to be arrested and taken to a state hospital for 90 plus days. So what they've done is committed a crime, and she needs to countersue. Okay? Essentially, they're calling it civil, but it is false imprisonment, which is actually felonious. The government is committing a felony against an innocent person who is being poisoned by a doctor. Okay? So, those are the most two important laws, number 4 and number 5. Those are the key ingredients to life. But number 6 here is also important. In all criminal prosecutions, the accused shall enjoy the right to a speedy and public trial by an impartial jury of the state and district wherein the crime shall have been committed, which district shall have been previously ascertained by law, and to be informed of the nature and cause of the accusation, to be confronted with the witnesses against him or her, to have compulsory process for obtaining witnesses in his favor, and to have the assistance of counsel for his defense. So we're all assisted during that. That's very important to have this information, to have factual evidence that is created by competency of physics and quantum physics and chemistry and biology and all general science. In any case, you have to find an expert that can draw out the records, the evidence. It could be a very long process. You have to prove it, though. You can't just use hearsay. Hearsay is actually illegal. You cannot go call hearsay a valid probable cause. I've had the police call on me several times based on someone who told lies to the police. In suits at common law where the value in controversy shall exceed $20, the right of trial by a jury shall be preserved, and no fact tried by a jury shall otherwise be re-examined in any court of the United States than according to the rules of the common law. Okay, so the common law is pretty simple, but it may be invalid. And there are more amendments in the real current law to these amendments. But these amendments stand very strong. And like it says here in Amendment 9, this is important to the newer amendments to the law. The enumeration in the Constitution of certain rights shall not be construed to deny or disparage others retained by the people. So if they change the laws and it causes problems, that's illegal. That's a crime. That's both civil and criminal. Okay, it could cause problems. So those are the most important. We want to say 4, 5, 6, 7, and even 8 here. Let's do 8. Excessive bail shall not be required, nor excessive fines imposed, nor cruel and unusual punishment inflicted. That is very important. Never allowed to be poisoned, beaten up, murdered, raped, assaulted, or even threatened by anyone in the government holding you against your will, or anyone in the country of America. So these are all the most important laws. So, and number 10 here is final. The power is not delegated to the United States by the Constitution, nor prohibited by it to the states, are reserved to the states respectively or to the people. So the people will do a lot of the work in the Constitution, and the states will too. Governments of the states. And then the federal government works over the whole course of the country. So this is pretty much it. There's a lot more law in real life. It's called physical law that goes into what this really means. So you need to know your physics, your quantum physics, your chemistry, your biology, your mathematics, your geometry, your calculus. You have to show these physicalities of these things to show if somebody used criminal intent to commit a crime with any kind of science or physical thing or physicality. You have to show if their intent was ill to cause harm of any kind. So this is what we're doing currently right now, is I'm trying to help Karen learn this, and that these doctors and these lawyers, they don't understand what we call particle physics. The atoms of life are particulate, and that how they interact in the human body and in the world, and how they can change a person's life, and how they are physically, both subatomic and atomic at the same time, means that if you can't show the measurements of how these interact, especially in the human body, then it can be considered fraud if you produce medicine or a treatment or a therapy without showing the physical chemistry or the particles and their interactions of the cells of any one person. So, and then when somebody complains about that, the government is opposing this. They're opposing this, and they're claiming that it's the patient's fault when the doctor made the error. Okay, they're blaming the patient for the doctor's error, and this is a corrupt due process of law. Actually, the doctor should have been arrested for poisoning Karen Kidd and me as well at different times in our lives and currently. They should have been arrested for lying about the science of medicine. And what they need to do is arrest the doctors, and we need to countersue these people at this institution. And they falsified our diagnosis because they don't have evidence to support their claims. So in the amendments of law, you're not allowed to do this to people. It's also called gaslighting, and it's also called slander and libel, to create false medical records based on false science and beliefs